Coming up on market shares, inflation, and we've got some tech sell-offs happening, but more coming up in the show.
Plus, while March Madness may be coming to an end, the MLB celebrates its opening day, how changes to NIL could impact budgets and viewership.
And Syracuse University hosts its largest day of giving. How much donors brought in? Hold on to your wallets because market share starts right now. Good evening and welcome to Market Shares. I'm Carson Fowler.
And I'm Mike Lamorte.
MLB is kicking off and so is Market Shares as the markets round the bases. Another hectic week on Wall Street. Welcome to the show. I'm Carson Fowler.
I guess we're introducing ourselves again. I'm Mike Lamorte as well, but let's take a look at how the major indexes ended the week, Carson. And my goodness, a lot of investors holding their breath because, as you could see behind, I could feel the aura of the red lights here in the new studio because they're all in the red.
Yeah, inflation's still above that Fed 2% target. It's 2.8% of where it was last month at 2.7%. But the Dow led declines 600 points down from where it was, 700 points on the NASDAQ, S&P down about 103 points. And a key focus that we're going to talk about later is that auto tariff, that 25% tariff that Trump's been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely, Carson. That's the only reason it isn't just, you can't just allude it to the inflation. You also have to take a look at the automaker industry, which Trump put a 25% tariff on. We're going to talk about that later in the show. But the S&P and the Dow, they both carry automakers in their indexes, and that is definitely one of the reasons that those two indexes are taking a big hit. But I want to move on to an automaker, Tesla. Tell me a little bit about
green for the first time in 9 weeks. They broke that 9-week losing streak, finishing at about $260 a share, 2% up on the week. But this is an interesting week for Tesla because I think people would have thought that this auto tariff would have really hurt Elon Musk's business. But given that Teslas are built primarily are in the U.S., that are sold in the U.S. They're built in California and Texas, and Tesla will actually report its first deliveries of the first quarter next week, so that's something to follow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone was thinking that Tesla would take a big hit because they do own plants in China as well as Germany, but those cars are primarily sold in Europe. The ones that are sold here in the United States, like you said, built in Texas and California. And Musk is saying because of that, the company's not going to take a big hit. And right now we're seeing that Tesla is one of, or the only automaker that is in the green this week and stuff. But let's take a look at NVIDIA, the chip maker.
Yeah, down more than 20% this week, 20% year to date, 8% this week. They fell 1.7% this morning. They're actually trending towards their 6th month low, about $104 per share. You can see we're about $109. Like I said, they're down 8% this week, but not a good week for NVIDIA. They actually are in talks about buying up $250 million of CoreWeave's initial public offering. So that's some big news to come out of CoreWeave. Is actually the first AI pure playing company to go public in the AI space. Something to watch there as well.
And I know that this is early, that the IPO just launched, but an important thing to know here is we're kind of learning a lesson that perhaps the demand for AI just may not be as large as we think just yet. The IPO opened, the CoreWeave, which is backed by NVIDIA, it opened at $40 a share, which was less than it was expected. That's underwhelming, and NVIDIA owns 6% of CoreWeave. Yeah. So we don't think NVIDIA is going to go anywhere. Obviously, it's stood the test of time. We're going to continue to monitor that. But let's take a look at Cintas, Carson. Cintas trading in the green this week.
Yeah, Cintas definitely in the green this week, up about 6%. Their stock actually soared on Wednesday, up 9% of where it was earlier in the week. They beat earnings per share expectations and their revenue expectations, which is actually interesting because on Monday, they had a huge acquisition deal fall through with Universe, $5.3 billion. They said the two sides couldn't really agree on key transaction terms, so I would have thought that Cintas would have been in the red, but big week, or big first quarter rather, for Cintas.
Yeah, despite that acquisition falling through, Cintas is doing quite well. They're trading back to where they were in December, and they're about $20 shy of its all-time high, the price per share. And year to date, it's up over 11%. So Cintas, despite that acquisition falling through, Carson, it's doing great.
Yeah, good time to have Cintas in your portfolio.
Yeah, well, still ahead on market shares as Trump's tariffs continue. Visitors from Canada are holding out on vacations to Central New York. Find out why when we come back.
Come on, it's not that hard.
My big man fingers are having a problem with these little tiny buttons.
Whoa, watch it there. Your blood pressure's gonna go through the roof.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to learn how to get it down. Instead, it keeps going up.
High blood pressure can increase the risk for heart attack or stroke. Learn how to keep yours at a healthy range.
Ever hear a voice command? Just say text barbershop to 97779.
That's not what I said.
Just give me that. Now my blood pressure's up.
Women are bad with money.
That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now,
We've got something to say.
Save it. Save the old-fashioned advice, the empty excuses. It's all worthless, unlike us.
To our fellow females, it is time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Contributing to our futures. Investing in our independence.
Until we're no longer 80%
more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
So again, we say to that, save it.
The falsehoods, the feelings of fault, then the funds.
Learn how to save for your retirement at wesaysaveit.org.
Well, welcome back to Market Shares. Yesterday, our own Isabella Galan hosted Syracuse University's Giving Day. She's here in studio for a full breakdown of the event. Bella?
Thanks, Mike. If you saw golf carts, signs, and plenty of auto yesterday, that's because Syracuse University hosted its annual Giving Day, raising nearly $1.5 million to help close the funding gap between the endowment and tuition. Now, tuition rose almost 4% last year, with the total cost of attendance hitting a record $88,560. Despite the increase, Syracuse clubs experienced a significant budget cut alongside rising meal plan and housing costs. Regardless, almost 7,000 donors from all 50 states and even 12 countries contributed to clubs, scholarships, and department funds. Syracuse's global community united for the 24 hours of impact, friendly competition, and plenty of orange pride. That's all from me. I'm going to send it to you, Carson.
Thanks, Isabella. As spring break wraps up, Trump's tariffs are just getting started. Our neighbors to the north are avoiding travel to Onondaga County, the third most popular Canadian tourist destination in New York State. This is updating news. Canadian visitors accounts for nearly 15% of Syracuse tourism, spending an annual of $115 million in the city, with the peak season for tourism being just a few weeks away. Visit Syracuse President and CEO Danny Leidka says, quote, "The fact that Canadian visitors to our website is down 50% is very concerning."
Carson, can you hear that in the air? It's like birds are chirping. I could smell the burgers on the grill.
I know where you're going with this.
Baseball is back. Opening day was just yesterday. The season's in full spring. Drew Albaugh is in studio today to talk about the highs and lows of the financial side of America's favorite pastime.
Thanks so much. What can $8 billion get you? It could buy you Syracuse University 4 times, 800,000 Model 3 Teslas, or my personal favorite, 4 billion Krispy Kreme donuts. What you couldn't buy, though, is the New York Yankees. The Bronx Bombers, valued at $8.2 billion, is the first MLB team crossing the $8 billion threshold. But it's not just the Yanks. MLB teams across the board are on the rise, with a league-wide 8% value increase year over year. However, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows a couple days into the 2025 season. Over the past 5 years, NBA teams have doubled in appreciation, and the NFL is just under that mark. The MLB, on the other hand, has risen just 36%. At face value, this seems like a minor problem. Okay, 36%. What is there to complain about? However, intrinsically, the problem is rooted way deeper. For starters, the MLB's collective bargaining agreement is set to expire in 2026. This could lead to another lockout if teams and players can't reach a compromise. This recently happened in 2021. Even so, the main reason to be concerned is media rights. Fox and TBS is slated to pay the MLB just $13 billion over the next 7 years, and ESPN $1.7 billion over the next 3 seasons. In contrast, the NFL is guaranteed $126 billion through 2033. This discrepancy, despite a 7-year high in attendance last season for the MLB, has caused the league to pull out of its deal with ESPN and seek other media options.
Appreciate your report, Drew. 4 Sweet 16 games tip off tonight in the NCAA tournament, and viewership through the roof through the first 2 rounds. Riley Underwood updates us on the current state of college basketball. Riley, what do you got for us?
Well, March Madness, the NCAA tournament, it's in full swing. The first and second rounds averaged 9.4 million viewers per game. That's the most since 1993. Even though there weren't many upsets through the first 2 rounds, many of the games ended up being pretty big blowouts. It's also, despite a revolving door of who's who in college basketball today, now that the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness have taken a hold of athletes and schools nationwide. Out of all the starting 5s for teams that made the Sweet 16, only 29 of the 80 starters are playing for the school they started at. And if you take out Purdue, the only school where all their starters began their careers at the current school, that makes it 24 out of 75 players, roughly 1.5 players per team. And it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. Next year, programs can opt into the House versus NCAA settlement, which would give schools a budget of $20.5 million to disperse to athletes across all sports however the college would like. It would also increase the scholarship limit for basketball from 13 to 15 and cap the roster at 15, essentially eliminating walk-ons. Before this year, the NIT was essentially the only secondary postseason tournament, but this year, Fox introduced the College Basketball Crown. It's a 16-team tournament with a total of $500,000 of NIL money on the line, which is divided among the winners and top teams. And the Big 10, Big 12, and Big East, whose games are all carried on Fox, each automatically have 2 entries. And 13 of the 16 teams involved in the tournament, they have losing conference records this year. It seems like the more players are paid and the more they transfer after one season, it seems like college basketball turning into a professional league where academics are looked at. It's a bit of an afterthought.
Yeah, Riley, I want to go to you first with this question because the transfer portal, I believe, has ruined college basketball in a way. It used to be where you had to sit out a year if you ended up transferring a program. I believe NIL is a good thing. You get to pay these players, their kids, they're buying their families' homes. I'm all for that. But I think the transfer portal is what's ruined college basketball. I want to get your thoughts there.
I would completely agree with you because at first, when everything was happening, everyone was saying, well, this is actually going to level the playing field because then maybe the smaller schools can pay their guys and maybe they won't need the big stage. It's kind of the complete opposite. This Sweet 16, 4 conferences only are represented, and the SEC has 7 of the 16 teams. I think it's taken over. I mean, you got a Michigan player whose son or Michigan player transfers in the Sweet 16 while he's in the Sweet 16. Yeah. I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah, that really stuck out to me. I will say, though, I do like the permissive cap that's going to be going through, barring everything goes right, on April 17th. $20 to $22 million is going to be the permissive cap. So the teams can't spend more than that on NIL money. I think that's great to make sure SEC teams don't spend $50, $60, $70 million on players.
Isn't it crazy that we've gotten to a point where we need a cap on NIL? I think that's
teams have
ridiculous.
GMs. I mean, Syracuse has a general manager that just left, actually, but that's ridiculous. 10 years ago, that would have never been the case.
I think that just shows how much more value we're seeing in sports. But I want to ask you, bring it back to Syracuse. What do you think we're doing differently in the transfer portal? Obviously, we just got a big name coming to Cuse, and then we're keeping 2 of our big stars right here in Syracuse. Players we've lost in the transfer portal throughout the last few seasons, but this season things are different.
Well, sure. I mean, you like to say, yeah, they're staying because they want to stay for Syracuse. And I'm sure that's part of the reason, but also, a lot of money is being being thrown their way, and especially John Wildhack has taken an initiative. He says he wants to win ACC championships and NCAA championships. He said earlier today, actually, that if we get this money going, he thinks it will happen. I actually got a chance to get a sneak peek into an NIL event that happened earlier today here at Syracuse. About 20 football players got a chance to get some NIL opportunity. They actually had an agency come in, and these players could post pictures on their social media, videos promoting them. They get to keep the products. It just seems like this is one of many things that's been happening.
Right, and Ryan, that's part of the Champion Cuse, the $50 million initiative started by John Wildhack to try to get people to donate to Syracuse. $20 million of those dollars would go to NIL. The other 30 would go to coaches' salaries and to upgrade facilities. The guy that just came, Kyle Williams III, or William Kyle III, rather, 2 first names, kind of get you every time.
Right,
yes,
sure.
Of course. That's the first domino of many for Syracuse basketball, kind of getting back to the top tier program they used to be 10 years ago.
Well, you know, it's funny, the class of 2025 has this like marketing promotion where so I'm in the class of 2025. If I donate $25, I get a multicolored cord to any fund, and I donate to the athletic fund, and we got to transfer that night. So I think I had to be something part of it.
Did you do that?
I did.
Okay,
nice.
$25
to the athletic fund.
There you go.
Let's talk about opening day, because obviously that was
baseball.
And I want to get your thoughts on this, because let's think about how expensive NFL, MLB, professional sports need to become. Josh Harris bought the Commanders 2 years ago for $6 billion.
Sure.
That is so much money. These guys have to start selling off their assets just to front the bill to buy these teams.
The Miami Marlins are the lowest spending team in the entire MLB. About only $80 million. They're still worth $1.5 billion with a B, and that's the Miami Marlins. You already talked about the $8 billion for the Yankees, and it's crazy to think that some of these players are getting paid pocket change compared to what these guys are bringing in, and this could be a concern. The MLB bargaining agreement that's going to happen in just a couple of years, it could be the difference. Back in 1972 and 1991, MLB did not play games because the bargaining agreement did not go through. So listen up, guys. 2 years, MLB might not be playing games because of this very reason. So
that's a bold prediction.
It's not bold. It's happened twice before. 2021, 10 days away from happening a third time.
Deal got done, though, and I think it will eventually. And I just wanted to say, you said that the Marlins' value is around $1 billion.
Yes.
It's about the payroll of some major teams.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the Dodgers, their payroll's over $300 million. So
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Major League Baseball is pretty much the only sport where it's not the same. It's all different.
Shohei Ohtani's getting paid $1 billion over 12 years.
Marlins are 1-0, though.
Okay.
Can't say anything
Hey,
about
on
that.
the road to 162-0.
There you go.
Right.
We'll see.
Well, coming up, we're going to talk about Tesla stocks being up on the week, but now a New York lawmaker is attempting to end Tesla's operations here in New York State. Find out how when we come back.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Welcome back. Well, it's Big Little season for Greek life, and many bigs are searching for trinkets to fill that basket for their littles. But Family Dollar may no longer be an option. Dollar Tree is selling the store to 2 private equity firms for $1 billion. Just last month, Dollar Tree closed 30 stores in central New York, including the one on Seneca's Turnpike. In 2015, Dollar Tree acquired Family Dollar for a whopping $8 billion. Since then, bargain chains have been struggling with rising prices and tightened consumer spendings. Well, Dollar Tree CEO Mike Creedon believes the 2 chains are 2 different businesses with limited synergies. The private equity firm sees the sales as, quote, a unique opportunity to play a key role in reinvigorating an iconic business.
Yeah, and if you're having late night cravings to add to that basket, Mike, this weekend, low on cash, don't worry, because DoorDash, you can actually you can buy now and pay later. It's a new partnership they've announced on Thursday. Klarna is available to DoorDash users who can accept 4 interest-free installments or pay for their food at a later date, which I just think is absurd. As DoorDash expands their product line, head of money products, Anand Sabarian says, quote, having flexible payment opportunities available for customers is essential to growing the company. Klarna says DoorDash is expected to make its initial public offering in the coming weeks.
A lot of buy now, pay later there, Carson.
Right.
Well, as gaming consoles move away from disk drives and towards digital copies, GameStop is closing 23 locations in upstate New York. To make up for lost revenue, the chain is investing $1.3 billion in Bitcoin, shifting away from retail and towards cryptocurrency.
Yeah, share prices initially rose about 12%, but then slid over 8% in after-hours trading on Wednesday. The company posted almost $1.5 billion in net sales for the most recent quarter, marking an almost 30% decline year over year. Analysts call this pivot toward crypto a, quote, defense against the irrelevance. Kind of like that rhyme there.
Well, as Elon Musk and his Doge team continue to cut government funding, Democrats have called for boycotts against Tesla. Now, a New York State senator has introduced new legislation aimed at ending Tesla's in-person operations here in New York. Ethan Kraut is here now to talk with us and walk us through the proposal. Ethan.
Senator Pat Fahey introduced a bill that would pull existing permits for Tesla's 5 physical locations in New York. Fahey said, quote, no matter what we do, we've got to take this from Elon Musk, adding, he's part of an effort to go backwards, end quote. Now, Tesla sells directly to consumers, unlike most car companies who sell through franchise dealerships. Since New York's auto franchise laws limit this approach, Tesla needed to make a deal with the state in 2014 to receive the 5 permits. Under Fahey's proposal, though, Tesla would not be able to open new locations in the state and will be banned from operating in New York until after July 2026. This comes after the FBI launched a task force targeting domestic terrorism against Tesla. Acts of violence and vandalism against Teslas have increased the past month as Musk continues to slash government spending and services. Last week, the FBI urged the public to look out for signs of possible attacks against Tesla, such as surveilling, trying to break into Tesla properties, and making threats against the company online. Tesla's stock price has fallen to just $263, as you guys mentioned earlier, down 30% from its inauguration day price of $424. Investors continue to fear that Musk and his Doge team will negatively impact Tesla's brand. Guys?
All right, Ethan. Well, I want to go back to the tariffs that were placed on the auto industry like we discussed before, but what is the latest on the tariffs that President Trump plans to impose on the auto industry?
Yeah, so this week Trump announced that he will be imposing a 25% tariff on car imports and auto part imports. Now, he says this is to boost the auto industry in America and revitalize it to what it once was. He believes that if adding these tariffs, it will incentivize American consumers to purchase American-made cars, also boosting production in the industry and boosting jobs. Now, not everyone's too thrilled about this, specifically Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who announced that he will be imposing retaliatory tariffs against the U.S., further escalating the U.S.-Canadian trade war.
Yeah, you mentioned that trade war, Ethan. What price increases can consumers expect to see with some of these new tariffs on local imports?
But Trump said in the Oval Office when he announced these tariffs that it will not raise prices and will not have an effect. It will actually have a good effect on the market. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Well, look, I think we're going to have a market the likes of which nobody's ever seen before, not in this country. You know, we had the best market ever in my first term. It was the strongest market ever, the best economy ever. And I think I think this blows it away.
Not all experts agree, though, with Trump's reasoning there. Economist Arthur Laffer warns that prices could increase nearly $5,000 per car with these tariffs. Now, luxury brands such as BMW and Mercedes are expected to have a much larger increase with them facing tariffs. But now, back to you guys.
Ethan, thanks for your report. We'll continue to monitor that story as more comes available. Coming up on Market Shares, what will happen to your DNA now that 23andMe has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy? Stay with us.
Yo, camping buddy. Okay, you guys ready?
Dude, I thought you were driving.
I thought you were driving.
Oh, I never said I was driving.
I definitely can't drive.
Okay.
If you're high, just don't drive. It's illegal everywhere. If you feel different, you drive different.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Hard, what's this? That's my resignation letter. You're resigning. Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you eat stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit. I forgot. I'll do better. Please, don't quit on me. Okay, but remember, it's not what you say. It's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
Welcome back to Market Stairs. Just this afternoon, a U.S. bankruptcy judge ruled DNA testing company 23andMe, which filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on Monday, has the right to sell customers' medical and ancestry data to potential bidders.
Offers will be due on May 7th, and a final hearing will be held in June. Attorney generals around the country, including right here in New York, they're encouraging users to purge their data from the website as soon as possible. Carson, have you ever used 23andMe?
I have not, and I don't think I ever will. I don't want my DNA on any sort of market of any kind.
Yeah, Carson, I don't think people realize when you sell a business, you're selling off your assets as well.
Sure.
You got to think, this is a company that centers their focus on bringing you your DNA, where it comes from, connecting you with your roots, but that is an asset for the company, and that's what's going to get sold off to whoever the highest bidder is.
Yeah, and data is definitely money nowadays. I mean, it just seems like data mining, anything that people can get their hands on. I mean, you have to sign up for cookies every time you get on a website, and I couldn't imagine what a company would pay to have your DNA so you could like potentially do some marketing towards what you're buying or consuming or what you're watching. So
yeah,
it's probably something to keep a watch out for, and I wouldn't be using 23andMe anytime soon.
No, and I want to warn everyone again, if you're on that platform, you don't want your data sold, make sure you get that off the website before it is sold off, Carson.
Yeah, definitely. And that's pretty much all the time we have for you on this episode of Market Shares. I'm Carson Fowler.
And I'm Mike Lamorte. Make sure you have a great night, Syracuse.